Commissioner Rich, Commissioner Jones, Commissioner Krantz,
Here.
Chairperson Castro.
Here. Thank you. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. Pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play pop, as Kevin would say. Okay, well, we will turn it right over to our Feather River Parkway Master Plan discussion. Minutes from the previous Park Commission meeting will be at the regular Parks Commission meeting.
Yes. So this is going to be our second community meeting, so thank you for everyone being here. If you're not aware, this is the second community meeting for our plans to apply for Round 5 funding for the statewide park development and community revitalization program. And we are looking at the Oroville Feather River Parkway Master Plan that we've been working with Melton Design Group in putting ideas together. So this will be our second community meeting, looking for ideas from the community of what we want to see on that master plan. And the goal is to have a master plan so that when we do start asking for some grant funding, depending on the cost of the grant that's released or what we want to ask for, we can use it as either a full plan or use it as sections of the plan to then apply for grants. But like I said, we would like to use it for Round 5 funding, the same one that we applied for with the Hewitt Park Phase 2. So we have Greg with us from Melton Design, and he's going to take over our community meeting. And thank you, Parks Commission, for letting us host the second meeting with you guys.
One moment, please. So we have to do things the old way,
Okay.
which is kind of nice. Yeah, like Jordan mentioned, we really I want to continue like we did last meeting, and I think we have some great faces in the audience today that can help us link different projects together and become partners in one way or another in the process, because in getting grants, the State Parks OGLE's Office of Grants is excited about doing that part of it and not just having sole entities do it, but somehow bring it together as a big group. So I do have something for you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I guess this way might be better. Is it okay if I'm not mic'd?
Sorry.
So there we go. As I mentioned, we were here 2 months ago and really talking about the waterfront, and this project originated. There's been multiple waterfront master plans done from big economic bases and retail or development bases to big water parks and whitewater parks and you name it, right? So we started this really trying to keep it simple so we could get some project funding that would take it to the next level. And in the master plan process, we like to see everything we want on the master plan and then scale it to whatever grant that we are approaching. And so we wanted to start this process by just identifying a lot of spaces on the river that we know we want to move forward with on smaller scale projects. And then we want to entertain state, government, whoever else on board, the Rotary Club, and engage in a way that we can now connect all this together. And like I said, show the state that we have a big team of participants, not just the city of Oroville. You're making a lot of noise over here. It's all right. Don't worry about that one if it's. So, starting upriver, that orange square over there is the bathhouse. We've always been including the bathhouse renovation in everything we do because it can continue to be renovated. And then as you move this way, you see the purple there. I guess we should have used green on that, but we plan on using purple lights on that. So working with Rotary and Dean, we are putting together a set of documents to put in lights on the Green Bridge, and it was 1911.
1909 to 1913.
That bridge had lights, and we were on the bridge yesterday, and you could see the remnants of a lot of that equipment that was once used, whatever years ago that was. So that's an exciting terminus on that end of the project. And we know as we come back to this way, the Gateway project is moving forward. Riverbend Park, it continues to survive. We lost a little sand in the high water, but that's all right. And as we're moving that way, we got the Lagoon project, and DWR is on board to do some repairs there. We're looking at the Bedrock Park redesign also, putting in kiosk in. The restroom's gone there, but we'll work on that. And then as you get across the whole frontage, we show these different asterisks of different places where it makes sense to get down to the river. So getting down to the river is always a challenge at this spot. So these different asterisks are either overlooks or access points to get down to the river and to provide that recreation along the river that we don't really have at this point. So we have the trail system, which also needs upgrading. And along with that, there's all these connections. So here's Centennial Park, right? We have a new restroom going in right there, so that'll be nice. And we also have the convention center, which is under modification at this time. So there's designs to remodify the convention center along with the access point off of Myers, so that'll have a whole new look to it. And then as we look around, we can see all these fishermen in the water, right? Has anybody fished in that location? Anybody got a better spot I can go fishing?
We wouldn't tell you if we did.
Yeah, there you go. So all these points down here are just photos of these access spots. And we know that with the nature trail going in that connects the trail down to the bathhouse, we're really completing a lot of the gaps. One of our goals with the bridge lighting is to light underneath the bridge, so that's on all night long, and we're keeping it safe and secure and hopefully moving people through that area and not having them camp there and things like that. So that's just a sidebar benefit from a lot of that. But these access points will really begin to, give people a sense that there's another thing on the other side of the levee. So we'll have signage, we'll have the access, and then we can add recreation to these areas also. So with these river access points, once you get down to the river, some of it is pretty accessible, some of it isn't. There's a lot of non-natives down there we want to clean up, so we're going after habitat grants. There's trail systems that we need to improve. There's sitting areas that we don't have. There's overlooks that are run down. So all these things are part of just the simple modification of the trail system. We're not talking about putting in big amphitheaters or anything silly along the river. We're just keeping it simple so when you're using it, you feel comfortable using it. When you're on the levee, we want to have more overlooks looking over the levee so people can really go up there and use it. And then we do want to link to some of these new projects so that the people that are coming into these new projects know there's a river there and it's easy to get to.
And Greg, just to jump in real fast, we know that the Supplemental Benefits Fund approved the 2017 Feather River Consolidated Master Plan, and this is not to take away from that at all. This is to capture the low-hanging fruit within that plan that's achievable and maintainable by the city. Instead of waiting for the relicensing to go through, these are things that we can make enhancements and improvements to improve the access to the river for the community in advance of those larger, big-ticket items that we will see once that Federal Energy Regulatory Commission funding comes through, the relicensing goes through. So this is just really to jumpstart that whole process to improve the access now. Let's make it enjoyable now instead of waiting.
Yeah, so we wanted to really just engage everybody and find out if there's other things that are happening around the river that we can link to or connect to. The convention center is a great first step at Myers there. So, there's that big parking lot there, right? And yeah, we use that parking lot for certain festivals, but it's also kind of a crazy parking lot when you're looking at driving up there and people racing through there and everything else. So maybe that area could become more of an open space and a more controlled parking space and make people feel more comfortable when they're walking the levee. Did you have a question?
Well, should we wait later to ask questions or input or whatever?
No, this is a very interactive group here. It's just, I'm just trying to get ideas from you guys, so the more you can.
One idea is tubing on the river in the summertime is a great activity, and most people launch on the north side of the river, east of the bridge, east of the Green Bridge. So you go down to the hatchery and you
Down there,
usually
there.
launch around there.
Just on other side.
Other side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's somewhere, yeah, from there, and it's like,
Not comfortable getting in there, right? It's not impossible, but.
it's not impossible, and I do it, but that's something to consider.
Kayaking.
Having a launch on the other side of the.
Excuse me,
bathhouse.
if we could have individuals that do want to talk actually come up to the mic. It doesn't have to be formal. You can come up one
Can
at
I
a
bring
time.
them the mic?
Or you can bring them the mic. It's just that we are recording it for people that are not able to make it tonight so that they can hear the discussion.
Okay, I'm Ted. I manage the Fort Bay Aquatic Center, and we do river trips on the Feather River during the fall time. But we would like to make this like a all summer long type of a thing. But the problem is river access by the bathhouse. The access on the other side of the river, on the hatchery side, is a little precarious, and then we need a key because the gate, yeah, they're not very friendly with the key sometimes. So having a access on the bathhouse side for the regular public to get in without, having to go up and down them steps would be very helpful, not only to them, us, but it would also help any tubers, any kayakers, anybody that wants to use the river and manage safely. So there's also a few other ideas that we've got that we've been.
Hold back.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to make sure that there's also some hazards right there too by that Green Bridge that I've been trying to get somebody to take care of for a long time too. Is a piece of metal that's sticking up out of the river.
Out of the river?
Yeah, that's going to kill somebody one of these days. So if we try to get some of these hazards taken care of and get some river access, and then of course there's the bike path that is missing underneath the bridge there too. One of these days we might be able to get that done so that we don't have to go all the way up and around about and then back down again. All these are hazards that are unnecessary, and they just seem to like go on forever and ever. And also, I am also an avid cyclist, and I do ride out there at the After Bay and the Fore Bay. It's a decent ride if you're, just out for exercise, but it's not very exciting. They're all basically access roads for water resources. There's absolutely no bathrooms anywhere. There's no water. There's nothing for miles and miles and miles. And the other thought that I had, and I know this is probably a long shot, but cycling through the tunnel, and you get over there to the spillway, and short of having to go up that dam, you have to turn around. I'm a pretty good cyclist, but I can't ride up that off the face of that dam. So I have to turn around, but a footbridge would be really nice to get from one side to Burma Road on the other side. So Brad and I would like to make sure that you guys are all aware that these kayaking events are things that we do for a living. We have amazing staff, we have the knowledge, and we have the clientele. So we would like to make sure that everybody knows that we have a ton of ideas, not just these, but several more, and ideas on how to set up a kiosk, a kayak kiosk, what it takes to make all this stuff run efficiently, and so you don't have to make all the same mistakes we made. Seems kind of a no-brainer to try and get somebody in there that actually has done this before. So anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you.
I have a
right
question
ahead.
kind of to go along with. We've been trying to get a restroom facility open and/or cleaned and/or functional at the bathhouse for quite some time now. And especially if you're going to stage the kayaks on that side or any sort of kiosk as people are waiting. I also think for the volunteers at the bathhouse, it would be nice. It's hard to volunteer there for 4 hours and drive over to the fish hatchery.
And I can respond to that.
Thank you.
So the parks crew has rehabbed that restroom at the bathhouse, even though it is a pit toilet. It will not be open to the public. It will only be open by key to those who are visiting the bathhouse or docents to preserve its status. It was recently, or this winter, destroyed by vandals, and Mr. Atterbury has brought it back up to a usable standard. Also, to the kayak kiosk, we currently have plans developed to construct a kayak kiosk where the old Bedrock Park restrooms were burned down. We're just working towards the funding mechanism for that. It is very expensive to construct anything these days, so we're planning accordingly. And I had another thought, but it's gone.
Thank you.
Oh, and the other restrooms, we have the 2 Portland loos being installed. Again, one at Centennial Plaza and another one at Bedrock Park.
Great.
The restrooms that exist in the city, they are not even usable, they're all locked. If we put in more restrooms, what's the point?
These are a guinea pig for us, basically. These are created in Portland, Oregon. They are meant to be indestructible. They're meant, I know, I giggled too. They're meant to be indestructible. You can just pressure wash them out. They're all stainless steel. The hand washing station is on the outside, so there's nothing to be destroyed. So if these prove to be successful for us, although very expensive restrooms, we plan to deploy them in other locations.
And just to add on to that, the restrooms in the parks are open on the weekends, and we are trying to open them up during the week as well. We're working with municipal law enforcement to keep them closed at night. So if you haven't visited the parks lately, they are being opened on weekends. They were open during Easter break for the kids that visited the parks. And if there's a group that's going to do the kiosk and have the organization to run the kayaks and things like that, I'm sure they could be issued a key to the restroom at the Nature Center bathhouse.
Perfect. All right, your turn.
Great.
Thank you, Greg. All right, I was just gonna echo the sentiment about adding access point on the bathhouse side. I think that that's really important, especially since there's better parking there for if you were launching a kayak or tubing. And then my second one was lighting along the trail and mile markers. I know a lot of us enjoy walking or running the dam because it's so clearly marked. You're going to go a mile or 2 miles if you go there and back. And so those were 2 benefits that I think would be valuable to increase opportunities and usage along the trail. And then, of course, lighting is great for safety.
Go. There you go, Wes.
So this is probably a minor comment, but we have approved a luxury apartment complex on the bluffs on the north side of the river there. And part of the project plan there is to create a linkage to the Brad Freeman Trail there. And so there might be some opportunities on the north side there near the fish hatchery to do something. I don't know what it is, but.
Hi, my name is Gary Leese. Regarding that north access, it's a little off the map there, but there's a trail that probably nobody even knows about. It's called the Brad Freeman Cutoff Trail. That basically means that instead of doing the whole 41-mile loop and going out to the after bay and what have you, you can come one side to the dam or, the south side of the diversion pool and go back up the north side of the diversion pool. And that trail is basically abandoned. There's nothing been done to it in years. And unfortunately, there's even no trespassing signs on either side of it. So I brought this to the SBF committee in December, but I don't know if anything's been done about that situation. But it would be a good resource to develop. It wouldn't take much. It already exists. It just needs to be re-signed. No trespassing signs being removed, obviously, and just let the public be more know about it. And another thing, once again, off this map, but the train tunnel, the old train tunnel, has always been flooded every winter. This winter, it's basically unusable, and I've been talking this for 10 years about just getting a load of gravel and a truck, and just pouring some gravel in that tunnel so it's not flooded all the time, and as well as all the other there's a whole bunch of potholes that are always full of water on that section of the old railroad grade. I'd like to see that addressed. Okay, thanks.
And for the trail and the train tunnel, that's outside of the parameters of this master plan, but yeah, that's something that we can discuss with our agency partners for recommendations.
Perfect. All right. Some of you haven't spoke yet. You came here for a reason. Mm-hmm. There you go.
Dean will always talk.
Thank you, Greg. Dean Gurr, Rotary Club of Oroville, and downtown business owner, property owner. I'm highly invested in this area emotionally for many, many reasons. And I want to thank you guys for including the viewing access for the lighting project on the bridge. The Veterans Memorial Park is a perfect place to view that. But our vision is to be able to bring the usability of that down to the river, to come down to the river, enjoy the water's edge, and view that, as well as all the other beauty that's along the riverfront there. So thank you for including that. The other thing, Don, you alluded to lighting is safety and so forth. So the Rotary Club Phase 1 is, of course, to light the downriver, the westward facing side of the bridge. So mostly to accent the architecture and for light themes and performances on a nightly basis. So it is definitely an attraction that'll bring people down to the river's edge for that purpose. Hopefully it'll bring in tourism as well. And that being said, one of my other passions is my wife and I like to van camp, and I'm not talking about the one little vans with duct tape on the windows. We like to do we're Class B, where we go in and we go to downtown areas. It's what we do. Anytime we visit a city, we go to the downtown area, and continually we find that there's no parking or overnight stays for that type of use. So we find ourselves having to travel outside the city, find a campground or something like that. I don't know the feasibility of it, and of course there's drawbacks and negatives that we could look at and avoid. But if there was some point along the river where we could have registered camping for overnight, or maybe not more than 2 nights, where it's a relatively low cost deal for someone to drive in and experience downtown Oroville for the weekend and then go on to the next location, I think that would be quite an attraction, in my opinion. The other thing that we talked about at the last meeting was I'm no longer a dog owner, but I think dogs are an important part of one's families. So if we can make, walking along it happens all the time. I don't think it's legal, but to walk your dog along the bike path or to provide some sort of dog park or some sort, even the potty bags, if we could have like the doggy potty bags somewhere along the way, that would be wonderful as well. So that's just what I have off the top of my head. Oh, Don, I don't think I finished my sentence on the safety lighting.
Yes.
So phase one is, of course, on the west side, but there's no safety lighting on the bridge now as it stands. The facilities are there. It's just been the wires have been pulled. We'd love to see, maybe as part of this plan, is to have some LED safety lighting that can serve a dual purpose, not only for safety lighting, but also to bring the lighted experience, the color experience from the side of the bridge onto the walkway. So, that would make a pedestrian experience as well as, an architectural experience on the west side. So if there's something we can include in that planning, that would be wonderful.
Perfect.
Hi, Nicole with Explore Butte County. And just because I was just down there, if we're going to drive traffic down to the boathouse, we should probably look at how people get in and out. Because that was a little sketch, jumping out into the roundabout. So that would be my feedback to activating that side of the river and down by the boathouses. Accessibility in and out for vehicular traffic.
Is there an update on that trail at all as far as funding for that, or is that part of this? Or
I have the perfect lady in the room for that.
perfect lady in the room, there you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Victoria, and I am with the Feather River Recreation and Park District, and I'm the current project manager for the Brad Freeman Extension Project, and it is to develop, if you're not familiar with this project, it is to develop roughly a quarter mile of trail from the side of the Veterans Hall down and then below the green bridge here, and to provide access to the bathhouse. So it includes a trail, overlook areas, and then a ADA parking area down here by the bathhouse to make it more accessible, make the trail more accessible. Right now, the established trail is to come over here, walk out of the Veterans Hall, go through the roundabout, and then access the bathhouse through the access road here. So right now I'm managing a project that's been years and years and years in the works. It's had, 8 different easement agreements and permits and a lot of funding challenges as well, especially going through COVID and things like that. We have secured all of our funding except for roughly $212,000. So that's through mainly grants through the Supplemental Benefits Fund. And we have some pending application with the California State Water Board as well as Doug LaMalfa's office to try to secure that last little piece of funding so we can move forward with construction. So Melton Design Group worked with us on that project and the design elements. So I'm sure that's going to get incorporated well into this plan. Yeah.
And regarding the traffic flow through the roundabout, we also currently have that in the engineering process to do a traffic diet and to slow that traffic down through the roundabout to make it a little safer to navigate.
Still not well marked.
So you can see that there's all these projects, right? And it just,
There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that
Right.
the general public doesn't know, but honestly, there's a lot going on behind the scenes.
yes, ma'am.
Pat Sands, do we have a target date for the roundabout? Because we go through that every day when we're traveling.
Yeah, it is budgeted for this next 23-24 fiscal year, so it will be completed, should all things go correctly, before July of next summer.
Thank you.
So additionally, with a lot of these improvements that we're talking about that have been in the works for a long time, we're really trying to make access to the water possible, right? So from our trail, that means we need to modify these improvement areas that are not too steep at this time. So we can get, some will be wheelchair accessible, some won't. But our goal there is to let people get to the river safely. I mean, right now you have to slide down on your butt 90% of the time to get down there. And if you almost make it, you end up on your butt. And we know cobbles are good for that. But our real goal is to just, when we're at Riverbend and we see kids on the beach playing in the water, that's great, right? We have a whole beachfront up and down the river. So if we can stimulate that, intervene the kayak action on that. We're talking about a kayak ramp at Bedrock Park, so an accessible kayak launch there. And really Bedrock Park, we just want to clean that up and modify it. So there's not going to be a lot of improvements there, but we have trail issues, access issues, and things like that. So we really want to get people down to that beach easily and make it a point to where we got people all along the river on a Saturday morning or afternoon, right? And that's kind of our goal here. And then we're going to see cars parked on top and people are going to go, what's going on down there, right? And it'll start getting people walking back and forth to downtown when they're hungry and not. So that's all those little blue strips underneath the trail. Thank you, Vanna. Right? But those are some important ones. And then number 3, it says openings for better flow of water. So we are talking about trying to make sure that those side areas do not continue to not get water, right? And then at that point, they get stagnant, and who wants to be next to that? So we're working with DWR and hopefully to make some of that work.
Just to make sure I heard you right, the light blue strips are beaches. So we're not talking about just access, but actual beach space where one could lounge and hang out.
Beach?
Ish. Like you could set up a picnic.
Leveler areas to where it's comfortable to be there and have the water there next to you instead of just a cobble.
Great.
ramp down.
Okay.
So water level plays a role with that, right? So, right now there's a lot of water and some of these are a lot more accessible. So we want to look at, the standard, 1200 CFS, 1300 CFS that runs through there on a regular basis. So that's our standard that's supposed to be there. So we're going to try to work down to that.
Okay.
So yes.
So just wanted to clarify, it wasn't a trail to the water, but an opening.
Actual space.
Yeah. Great.
Where you could throw a towel, throw a chair down, spend the afternoon, fish,
Great.
walk into the water.
Thank you.
And something that's,
With this, wherever you see a 2, I got down there by myself. It was a little sketchy, around these 2 areas, but there is nice open area down there. We just gotta clean it out a little bit, and that access would be great for some picnicking and, have a family out, possibly like a birthday if it's a little bit on the smaller side type of deal, so.
I have a question in regard to the water level as well that you mentioned. The river does go up quite a bit. This last, how many ever thousand they were letting out, we were measuring it by the stairs at Bedrock. Oh, it's up to this stair now. How does that affect the maintenance of a lot of what you're doing here?
and that's where a lot of what we would do would be something that would withstand those increased water levels, just like what Feather River Parks and Rec has done with Riverbend Park. They've constructed the amphitheater. The word escaped me, I apologize. The amphitheater so that it could withstand those higher flows. So we would try to construct these areas that receive those higher flows so that it would withstand and, come out just as pretty on the other end.
Thank you.
Riverbend Park was built to be in that flood zone, so even when we experienced the emergency incident with the spillway, the majority of the park still stood strong, and we had to do some cleanup. And as Dawn mentioned, we just built that very nice amphitheater in the center of the park, and it just experienced its first major flood event, and it was underwater and for at least a week. So, but we have been able to test everything out, and sure enough, everything operates as it should. The park also has flood insurance, so that's something that the city, I'm sure, will look into as far as covering the assets in any extreme flood event, because we know that those can happen here. So, but yeah, I think that it's a great opportunity to just develop that space. But when it comes to sand, they'll just have to consider what they want to include in their annual operating budget. Right now, we're looking at replacing the sand at Riverbend once these levels, decrease as we get into the summer, and we're looking at 25,000 about. So that's
And,
just for the beach.
right, and that was a totally premeditated process. We've been replacing sand at Riverbend Park for years, so.
Yes, it's part of our annual operating budget, so.
Just so everybody else knows, the state of California gave Feather River Parks and Rec a actual award, State Parks Award for Riverbend Park because of its resiliency and planning to be in the floodplain and take 100,000 plus CFS and still, still be there. And so that whole recovery, that was last year at California Park and Rec Service was awarded that. So that was a good thing.
I understand that we're focused on this part of the river. But if we're going to submit this to the state for funding, I think there should be some kind of an addendum to explain that on the west end downstream from this, there is Riverbend Park, and that's included in the overall plan, and people, the citizenry will be able to enjoy the whole thing, not just our target. That might enhance any offers that we get.
And that's exactly right. We will be doing that. We'll discuss basically all of those components along the river from the dam all the way down to the south end of town. Because it is one long cohesive trail, it's one town. We want our park to look like Feather River Recreation and Park District, so it doesn't look like two completely separate parks. We want it to have a cohesive flow all the way up the river. So when visitors come, they say, wow, this park is so long and beautiful. What a great concept. So
Exactly.
that's the plan.
Yeah, kind of bookends, right? And then even in the conceptual river plan of SBF's plan, there's even plans to take the trail further down to the wildlife area. So some ideas are more achievable than others, but it's good to see that everybody sees the big picture. Someone had a question?
Just a couple of things here.
Too late, you got it.
The proposed bridge to be light, when you're talking about numbers 2s going down the beach area, what is the proposed lighting down there so that during the summer, people are out there till, dusk? Is there any proposed lighting to be put in?
If those locations are still desirable once this plan is complete, the lighting would accommodate. So we could look at different light standards as to what would still be suitable for that location, that would still be flood resistant for the high water flows. So yeah, all of those will be incorporated to still make this a safe area to navigate.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be lighting the trail primarily. We won't be
Primarily.
coming down below the trail with infrastructure like that. But, with the proper light, the foot candles, 20, 30 feet away still would provide.
And depending upon what the tree canopy is in those locations.
Right. And those are going to help us identify what areas will get that type of treatment, so.
I was just wondering about the north side of the river. Is there any longer-term plans for that property there? And the other thing was, is there anything in here that would incorporate some swimming facilities? Oroville right now has 0 swimming pools, and the only one we have is out there in Thermalito, and it's pretty impossible for the local kids here in Oroville to actually go swimming without a car. So I was just wondering if that has anything in your plans somewhere.
To answer both of those questions, the north side of the river is state-owned and privately owned. So that is a part of the larger SBF plan, so we would leave that to later. For the swimming, again, we're working with Department of Water Resources to reactivate the swim lagoon at Bedrock Park. So that would be more accommodating to swimming for families. But as far as an aquatic center, the council recently tasked staff, apologies, tasked staff with looking into what it would be to pursue our own aquatic center or partner with another agency to pursue an aquatic center.
Other than the picnicking areas, I'm not sure if we've talked about placement of trash and recycle areas along this trail or along this
Yeah, we
area?
haven't at this point. I mean, that, you're getting into the minutia on me, but that's important, right? Obviously, where we have all those river access points, we got backpacks carrying food and drinks.
Right.
So as you come in and out with those new access points, we were trying to keep all those trash cans up on the levee to where we could manage them. And so we would be able to go by and pick those up at the end of the day. And, you know, maybe we need some good signage too, to make sure people understand that pack it in and pack it out.
Okay, good.
And that would be a big goal with this plan as well, is a lot of signage, not only wayfinding signage, but the history of the river, how Oroville became to be, what these important points of interest are along the river, in addition to the lighting, the benches, shade structures, picnic tables, the refuse containers. And we have a memorandum of understanding with Federal Parks and Rec that we're updating currently as well, for maintenance of this parkway trail. So it is really a partnership between agencies. Aaron has a
Jared?
Aaron with State Parks. I was going to bring up the kiosk because information and knowing what's in the city, downtown business would be nice on that, or knowing what the trail has. But the other question is, are you guys building in or considering what the public safety need is going to be? Because that's been a huge issue over the years, because typically state parks will respond as the closest agency with a boat.
Yep.
But if we're going to add more people, add more resources, what is the expectation? With CAL FIRE, that'll be helpful. But what's the city's plan for managing more people on the river? Because you're going to have more incidents.
Right, and this really, again, isn't anything above and beyond what we've been talking about for many years as far as recreation being added along the river. We're just trying to activate it sooner. So the public safety component is going to be built into that. The Oroville Police Department has also been increasing their municipal law enforcement team so that they can have more MLEs along the parks and in the river, or along the river and in the parks, so that there is enhanced resources available.
Just with the river rescues, was I was kind of, and I have seen the improvement, so just to note that, there has been an improvement and less vandalism issues I've seen.
Good.
So they're doing a good job.
Can you take a next step and say, okay, if there was an issue and we needed a river access, how does that go down from your support? If there's a river accident, is that what you're saying as far as?
If something happened on the river, it would most likely go to the city of Oroville.
Right.
And they would put it out to CAL FIRE. Typically, though, we're closer, so they call us for mutual aid, and then we'll launch our boat out. And depending on where the incident is, we'll launch at River Bend, or we'll hijack it anywhere we need to.
Okay.
So, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just curious, like, so River Bend is obviously really close to a lot of the downtown. So.
Yeah, and that's a nice launch ramp to launch from a boat. So it's easy, it's quick, there's not much traffic. The one under the bridge obviously is more difficult to get into really quickly.
Right.
So, but it's always a partnership that you end up with multiple agencies going. It's just who can get there quicker, because it's a hard spot to get to, because there's not a boat staged typically just for the river.
Okay. No, that's what I was looking for, so I can understand. So the area under the bridge where we currently have tube access and a lot of people are accessing there, what would be the best plan for that space besides easier access? Do we need more picnicking there?
Actually, a paved road with a parking lot would be really cool. You can't get down there without a four-wheel drive and a key to get through the gate. So, and those steps that you have to walk down, I don't know if you guys have ever walked down those precarious steps, but that one wrong move and step, and you're in some serious trouble. So, just to make things so much easier, it'd be easier just to drive down there and be able to park and launch your boat. If not there, then on the other side of the river, but somewhere there, you know, we need to make it safe for the public to get their car and their floating toys into the river.
We're talking about the north side?
Yes.
Yeah, I just think the steps need to be spruced up a little bit. There's parking there, but I think.
Well, there's parking up on top, but you have to carry your boat down there.
Yes, I've done that, and it's a nightmare.
Yeah, if the steps were cleaned up.
Yeah.
that would help.
So to kind of show, like, if you don't have the key, because you're just a person gonna go kayaking, you have to carry your kayak very far, down very strange steps, and then down a hillside. And I did it.
Good.
But I've done it once, and the idea of doing it again has prevented me from doing that again, although I very much enjoyed myself. So that's where I think, like, it's a tricky spot. If you could get a way to get pavement down there, I think that would be great. I think it's more likely and an easier achievement to be able to have a kayaker tube launch on the bathhouse side.
It's easy to put kayaks in River Bend.
Yes, but then you don't go downriver.
Yeah.
So you drop in, the fun part is dropping in by the bridge and then.
Floating down. Right.
The only way, there's no put out until you get to the outlet. If you start at the river bend, there's nowhere else to get, there's no place to get out.
I think you were expressing kayaking upstream, but yeah, for tubers and things like that, that doesn't work. But, so how do we, is there issues with that area that is gonna make this put in difficult?
Not being city-owned.
All right. So is that what the hatchery and DWR owns that spot?
Yeah. Yeah, that's state property. So that's something that we could potentially co-apply for a grant application for this location, but we would have to begin those conversations with DWR in the state.
So would it be easier to put it on the other side of the river? I mean, on the nature center side?
There's nothing easy on that side.
Well, I know that there's nothing easy.
Jurisdiction-wise.
Right.
Yeah, jurisdiction-wise, because the city owns the property where the nature center resides, that would be easier. And one of our thoughts with the kayak kiosk being down at Bedrock, we could capture the folks coming into town, and especially at the Gateway project, and then use a gator or ranger of sorts with a trailer to trailer the kayaks up to the nature center and then drop in and kayak back down. And whether they get out again at Bedrock or they go further down the river was the concept really there.
Yeah, this one keeps coming up, so I think that's something we have to solve. Because getting those people in the river is what we want, right? So, and that is one of our main goals about all this. I don't think I stated a goal off the bat, but the goal is to get people on the riverfront, so.
Well, and my intent too with the kayak kiosk being down at Bedrock Park, as they're being taken up the river trail, their guide can show them points of interest or places to eat or things downtown to go see, and it becomes this full experience. So you get the tour of downtown and the river, you get the guided tour, and then you get dropped in and you come back down the river and you get the scenic tour. So it's a really full experience there.
So then we're looking at some concessionaire
Absolutely.
scenario here.
We would construct it and put it out to
bid.
to bid. Yep.
Is this only for the river or like, let's say
like in Myers, where across the street from the theater, the bathrooms are there, they're not available?
Not a part of this.
Not a part of this?
Are you guys kind of getting a picture of what we're trying to do here? I think, the water access.
I think when I look at that, it's parking. Now, am I right that where it says 3 on the north side of the river, that is access points? Those 2 3s?
No, the river is.
Right
So
there.
the 2 3s are where it's kind of, we're trying to open up and try to create a better flow. All this water is kind of stagnant, especially up and through here. It's just
Okay, where are people going to park?
We have bedrock parking.
Yeah, we got bedrock.
Bedrock's on the other side, but if you want to access on this side,
And then, of course, around the convention center on both sides. People want to go down to the Veterans Memorial, there's parking along that line.
okay, so you weren't talking about accessing on the north side? then?
No, not
Okay.
for this plan.
All right, then I misunderstood.
Well, we're trying to get access to the north side up by the hatchery, but that's a conversation you need to have DWR and them to see how they want to co-apply on something like that.
Yes, we've been having conversations, not specifically about a put-in, but that will be the next conversation.
Just an expansion on the parking issue. If we do attract more people, more tourists, that will be a concern, especially if the intent to build a swimming facility on the parking lot near the convention center. If that is still a thing?
Yeah, we're not sure that that's a feasible endeavor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. But I mean, as far as the downtown is concerned, other than the municipal lots that are fronting Montgomery Street, that parking there on Arlen Ryan next to the convention center is pretty essential, not only to the usability of the river, but also downtown. So.
And we also have the area that's below the tower up on the levee by Centennial Park that is currently just gravel.
Oh, those could be improved.
And that can be improved into a parking lot. And
Very
that
good.
could provide substantial parking for this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So I was just wondering about timing on all this. What kind of phases are you going to take this through, and when is it going to start? And do you have a phase 1, phase 2? How's that going to work?
Sure, we are, our goal here is to wrap this master plan up in May, and we have grants due in June. So our goal is to get these put together, get costs to them, get timelines on them, and then come up with that feasible phasing. So we don't have the phasing yet, but as we get all this information down, we look at the viable projects that would work for a phase 1. Thinking about biting off a nice bite of the apple, but not something that's going to, I think what the grant, Prop 68, is it 8 million again?
Yes.
Yeah, so the people that get $8 million grants don't happen very often. So usually we try to come into the sweet spot around 3 or 4, so that there's a lot more grants awarded at that line item. So that's kind of our approach, is to come in with a full master plan and a phase 1 to go to that grant. And there's that grant, there's a habitat grant, there's a trails grant, there's land and water grants, so we're going to look at them all.
So things that are up on the trail and up on the levee as far as lighting and signage and benches and trash receptacles, those are things that are easier. That could be a phase 1. A phase 2 or phase 3 could be things that are more in the river work, because the application process for those is 1 year to 2 years long. So it's going to be a longer project regardless. But things that are on the levee are things that we can control and have better ease of access to construct or to install.
So like the SBF plan's a big grand vision, so we're trying to take a piece of that and modify it to start getting some changes now in the queue instead of waiting for a big scenario.
We have DWR CEQA for some areas, but not the main levee area. So that's a part of it as well.
Yeah, and for the grant, we just need some MOEs, right? So it's so they'll allow us to submit the grant with us understanding what the environmental impacts are. And then if we get awarded the grant, we deal with that at that point.
Isn't the lighting going to bother the habitat of the fish?
Is there a fisheries person in here to answer that? I don't think the lighting we're planning, a half-foot candle is kind of the minimal amount of lighting you want to allow between poles. And so if you're spacing on your poles 100 feet or something like that, you've got 2 or 3 foot candles right there, and then it spreads out. So it hasn't been my understanding, I'm not an expert in that, but it hasn't been my understanding that lighting like that off the river is a problem.
And it won't be anything like stadium lighting. It'll be
No.
enough to safely navigate the paths in the dusk to dawn hours.
And there are a lot different settings for lighting. So as it gets to darkness, they even drop another level as we get to 2 in the morning. So when primary people are there in the winter from 6 to 9, it'll be a brighter, safer, and then after that it drops another level. So we're using less. And our goal is to try to use solar lights at this point also. So no more copper lines to be stolen.
Yes, vandal-resistant lighting.
Right. Anything else? Any other ideas that are outside this box?
I was with Stars that helped cover up graffiti everywhere in town. And well, I've heard a lot of people don't even want to walk the trail just because of all the trash and everything along it, and even written on the pavement and everything. And it's just like, it's overwhelming. The bridge, the other bridge, not this green one, the other one down there has graffiti on it all the time, and they cover it up before maybe an event like Feather Fiesta Days. But there's just a lot of graffiti everywhere on the trail and people there. Nobody said anything about homeless. Do any of these grants cover maintenance of it and keeping it safe? We talk about safety, but safety from fear of walking with and meeting somebody that's not happy with you or something. I don't know, because it's a big deal. It has to be included, because you can't just make something and say, oh, it's done, we're done.
Yeah, the grants don't typically cover that. What they'll cover is help us create a safe space. That's a great question.
That's the main question.
I mean, and you'll hear this over and over. If we activate the space with good humans, then the other humans tend to move on.
Makes them uncomfortable.
And we're all good humans, so if we use it, life is risky these days, right? We have a different situation than 20, 30 years ago. It's just a different situation. And you're either brave enough to walk those spaces if we make them light and safe. And with these other access points, we are creating a lot easier way to get out. If you see someone ahead, you can make a left or turn around if you feel that comfort. It's a personal choice at that point, but we're going to do our best to make the trail safe, bring enough lighting, create easy access, and hopefully with our trash and everything else, we can try to clean that up. And I don't know the graffiti program or how that's being done.
Well, being in maintenance for 23 years, I like to look at these from that standpoint.
Microphone.
Being on the maintenance side, this is what I look at when I see the plans. I see a set of plans, I look to see if the vegetation's how it's gonna grow, and is there gonna be hiding spots, gonna be that kind of things. That's what I look at for my crew to go out there, and how can we design this or, alter it to make it as user-friendly as possible and as easy to clean. And Greg and I have worked on other projects where I come at it from that view. It's all nice, everything looks pristine, but okay, did we think about this tree growing, around this light, or this bush getting too big, or this type of material is not easy to clean graffiti off of, things like that. So are we gonna Prevent it? No. Can we reduce it? Yes. And it's the best we can do.
Yes, and we've talked before citywide, and closed circuit TV or CCTV is number one solution to bad people. If they know that they're being filmed and law enforcement is watching, then they won't come there. And technology is getting so good now, it's all wireless, it's easy to put up. So, and I know Oroville is forward-looking, and I've heard the discussion before. I don't know what the outcome will be. Safety of the citizens is always a priority for this city, and we just have to trust that our elected officials are going to do something about it.
So that does kind of bring up another, actually, now that she's broached the subject. What about security along this trail at night, or even during the day for that matter? Are we going to have patrol, or is somebody going to be riding a bicycle up and down this thing to make sure that everybody is safe, and those folks that shouldn't be there are persuaded to move along?
Yes, and that's where I had mentioned previously that our police department is staffing up on the municipal law enforcement, or the MLEs. And so they're basically doubling that staff so that we can have that coverage in our parks and along this trail so that there is patrol.
Don, we also bought that gator type thing for that to ride along.
That's correct. Thank you for that. Yeah, there was also a gator purchased for the municipal law enforcement so that they can patrol it on that mode of travel.
Big horses with big hooves. Any other actual physical elements that you guys think would work good on the levee or on either side of the levee? Is there something along the upper side or something we can tie to? Uh-oh. The winery's over there, I know that.
Sorry, thank you, Greg. I shared this picture with Wade once and with Don once, but on the, can I get up and point to it on the map? Because I'm not good at giving directions. On this area, so here's the convention center and Union's right here, I think, yeah. This area is undeveloped weeds to your knees, aside from people who like to try to make their four-wheel drive truck drive up it. So there's really great ruts. And it's not safe or good, but I think, and I've always thought that creating a tiered, natural type garden here that creates more connection from downtown sidewalks to the levee and then to the river is a viable option and could be drought tolerant, a good drought tolerant demonstration garden. And I forgot about that idea.
That could be a straight extension off of the city-owned parking lot right there, the public parking lot. There's currently a staircase there. That staircase could be improved with terraced walls and that natural landscaping that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. Or drought tolerant, that'd be great.
Has anybody thought of not just lighting the Green Ridge, but utilizing it for activities and other things? It's so beautiful how the water, you can see so much. Utilize for.
Yes, that's a big part of the whole project. Speaking for you, Dean, it's, the county, now that Dean has been moving forward with this, I think everybody's looking at how do we have events on it. I think once in April of 2024, there'll be a big grand opening for that with the lighting and everything else. And so other events, I'm sure that, I know the county was asked a year ago to do an event on there, and they were concerned about a lot of things. So there are some safety issues on the bridge physically that still need to be addressed. So I think the more we can bring it up, and we can put that on the plan right here to hold events on the bridge and take that to the county. And
I have utilize the river more, especially there that is so beautiful. You know, do things for sunset activities or something. I have been in another place in the world that had a restaurant actually, like there, right there in that spot. And that can be done, you know, I know it's a lot of impact for the fish and the river and everything, but it's such a beautiful place to be and to access and have things in there.
If we could talk California into a restaurant under our bridge, that would be incredible. But I'm not sure that will happen. Yeah.
Sonny Brandt, and I had another idea in the back of that parking lot. And they do so much now with electronics. And we've got that river right there. But you can live in and traverse Montgomery Street forever and never see the river. And what about a big signboard there against the levee and cameras that show you the river and what's happening there? So everyone that comes to Oroville sees we have a river. Look, just over that bank.
You're saying a big digital sign that
Not a sign.
films the river on a live feed.
Yeah.
That'd be great, yeah. Thank you, Sonny.
You guys plan on opening up the road, the levee road from Bedrock Park through the levee there? There's it's blocked off there, and I was just wondering.
Planning on opening that up for vehicles.
Oh, no? Okay.
Just for law enforcement. Just for the gator.
The gator?
Yeah.
As part of the master plan, will there be restaurants or something on the south side of the river?
That would be the hope. Back when the Arts, Cultural, and Entertainment District Plan was approved in 2013, that was the desire, was to rezone a lot of the parcels just to the south of the levee as mixed-use parcels so that it could attract those restaurant businesses, condominiums, more business right there adjacent to the river.
Is it possible to build between the levee and the river so there was more of a river view, or is that?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think there's possibilities building up to the river and then multi-story on that. And I think every waterfront master plan that's been done has shown that. And so, yeah. And so I think, I'm not sure, at some point there's a developer that's going to want to do that, or we need to somehow put out a project. Is that the bank there is city property?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is the possibility if the city at some feels that and can envision a project, can put that out to developers to see, you know, who'd be willing to take that forward.
In Riverbend Park, on the south side of the bridge, that berm up on top, ideal for a restaurant. It overlooks the bend of the river, and there's a lot of space there. It's all cobbled now, and there's no infrastructure for it. But if the city wants to put all that in, I'm certain the recreation district would cooperate and make it all available.
Now the ideas are stretching a little.
See, and the Gateway project would incorporate some of those requests. So they're intending to put in a multi-level or multi-story hotel, grocery, retail, apartments. So there's also another vacant parcel that I think everybody believes is the unicorn parcel that is to the east of the tennis courts. That's very large. That would be ideal for condominiums or mixed-use development. Mm-hmm.
And property owner is private.
Mm-hmm.
You know that where the Gateway project is going to be now, can we plant wildflowers or something so it looks pretty?
It's private property, so we could approach the property owner.
So it might be helpful as we continue to master plan this, maybe we take a bigger zoom picture and start to show some of the projects, and so everybody can see the connectivity of all these projects. So when we come back, we can do a larger plan that really starts to tie it all together and show, empty lot, who would like this, or et cetera, et cetera. Thanks, Aaron.
I have
Ma'am.
a quick something I'd like to add, that I really, really appreciate the added impetus on signage, mile markers, the tour bus, anything we can do. Living downtown, I see people wandering around all the time. I'm like, can I help you? People like to talk to people or at least have a map or something, so I think that's a great idea. I also like the idea of we've got to have increased MLEs or police, and I think we all have that understanding. And we glossed over it a little bit, but second to the pickleball at Hewitt Park were the dog park people. And I know we've talked a little bit about where that might happen, but I just want to make sure it's addressed somewhere because I think it could be very popular.
Additional pickleball?
No,
Dog park.
Dog park.
Dog parks.
Yeah. We can't do any more pickleball, but second to the pickleball people voice their opinion were the dog people, right, Christy?
And the trail system, obviously, once we add our poopy pouches and maybe there are some designated areas we can identify for dog. No, heck no. No, just kidding. What kind of dog do you have? Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. This has been really good. Really good. Like I said, we're trying to really identify this as, what are the fresh areas that we can really target, and this has been helpful. And I think this is going to move along very quickly here. And then once the grant is submitted in June, Ogles takes about a year to figure that out. But there is contact within that time. So we'll have updates as things continue forward with that and what grants we're going after, et cetera. Yes, ma'am?
Good. Is there another public meeting on this issue, or is this what you're saying until the next phase?
I think we'll come back at one of your next meetings to present the plan and the grant, what our grant will entail on this first plan. So it'll be less of a workshop and more of a, this is what we're proposing, because we'll be down to the wire at that point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. And when you bring that forward, it's going to incorporate all of the suggestions from the first meeting also.
Thank you, guys.
All of the feasible suggestions.
Yeah, so, yes, so all the notes up there from the January meeting are up there now. And yeah, so our goal is to bring back a plan that will be used for the grant. And then there'll be the other plan that has all the ideas that either do or won't make the grant, but we'll be showing the state, these are our future proposals. You're going to be providing step one. And I'm sure Dawn or Jordan, anybody at the city would be glad to take other ideas.
Absolutely. You can email either of us. Our contact information is on the website. It should be under the Park Commission page as well. But yeah, thank you all again for coming. Your suggestions and recommendations have been heard, and we share in those with you. So we're hoping that at the next meeting, we'll have quite a more comprehensive plan, and that'll also include a lot of the future projects that are in the queue as well, as far as development and what the city and other agency partners are working on. So you'll have a more complete picture for what we are submitting for this project. So thank you all again.
And I'm not going anywhere, so if anybody wants to talk more about it, I'll be at the plan.
And our next meeting will be June 13th here in this building at 5:15.
Oh, so we're not going to have administration reports or commission reports? Or future agenda items?
I'll get a hold of your, one of your guys.
Since it's just a special meeting, we weren't planning on it.
Yeah, we're scheduling a meeting with him.
It's gone out on Facebook.
Thank you, Terry.
People have. Okay. Chairperson Castro?